You're mute, sir. Nagendra, sir, you're mute.
You can start, Amulya. Hey, sir, ready, sir. Amjad sir, ready.
Okay. Hello and very good morning to one and all present here.
Okay.
I'm extremely overwhelmed to welcome everyone who are present here for today's seminar on emerging trends in human resource management. The beautiful thing about learning is nobody can take it away from us. On this note, I would like to brief about our institution. Seshadripuram Institute of Management Studies is the flagship management institution under Seshadripuram Educational Trust. It is established in the year 2001, has a rich legacy of 18 years in the field of MBA education, and is one of the pioneers in management education in Bangalore. Our institution has made an indelible mark in the corporate and academic world, and today is one of the best MBA colleges in Bangalore. On behalf of our college, it is a great pleasure and honor to welcome Dr. Vinay Sir, Director Principal, Seshadripuram Institute of Management Studies. I welcome you, sir. On behalf of Seshadripuram Institute of Management Studies, I welcome the speaker of the day, Dr. Amjad Ali, sir. I welcome all the teachers, non-teaching staff, and students for this session. Over to Nikita for briefing about the guest speaker for today. Nikita?
Thank you, Amulya. A very good morning to everyone present here. I am Nikita from first year MBA. So I would like to give a brief introduction about the today's speaker, Amjad Ali sir. Sir has completed his BA and MA in Aligarh Muslim University and also holds PhD for the same university in psychology, organizational behavior. Sir has about 7 years of experience in National Institutional Technology in Bihar, about 5 years, and postdoctoral research associate for 2 years of experience. Also, Sir has been a guest faculty in Aligarh Muslim University. Sir has participated and presented a research paper in the International Symposium on Social Science organized by Asia Pacific Education and Research Association held at Hong Kong. And Sir has delivered a 2 day workshop on professional communication strategies, intercultural sensitivity, and overcoming engineering challenges organized by the Department of Humanities in IGIT Sarang, Odisha. Even Sir has been published a book on ego strength and job attitude on organizational commitment. He has published many articles in journals and determinants of work-life balance, so on. Currently, Sir is working as an assistant professor in Adman University, Kolkata. Thank you, and I again welcome you for today's session.
You can start your session.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, all the participants. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Nagendra and the director of the institute, and for giving me opportunity to deliver my interactive lecture on emerging trends in human resource management. This is probably the last day of the webinar, series of webinar. So I would expect that this session is going to be an interactive one, because the topic that has been chosen is the most important in organizational context. As far as resources are concerned, we know that in organization there are many resources, but among all the resources, human resource is the most important resource. Why? Because this is the human who can utilize all the other resources. Okay, whether it is financial resources, technological resources, or any others, you can name it. So whatever resources available with the organization, all these resources can only be utilized by human resource. That's why the importance of human resource is very much identified, and it is very much practiced, because organization also considers that human resource, if able human resource is employed in the organization, it will certainly lead to the organizational overall success. So before moving to my lecture, I would like to just brief here that the entire lecture is divided into 4 broader categories. First, we will be discussing what is human resource management, its basic perspectives, and we will also be differentiating between human resource and management. This will be the first part. In second part, we will be discussing about the scope of human resource management. And in third part, we will be discussing about the sustainability of human resource management. And on final part, the fourth one, that in that section, we will be discussing about the emerging trends. Emerging trends specifically in the current scenario. Okay. So first, before discussing this first part, that is HRM and HRD. So as you know that these two terms are generally being used interchangeably because of lack of information or lack of knowledge. Generally, people in organizational context also, you will see that people generally use the term HR. HR, why they use the term HR? Because it denotes both HRM and HRD. So if you are unable to identify the difference, what you generally use the term HR, HR professional, HR executive. So these things that those who are involved or who are pursuing major in HR or someone in minor in HR also, they will have the opportunity in future after completing masters or even graduation, BBA. You can go to industry, you can go to organization, you can go to any of the department of the government, and you can grab the position like HR executive, HR professionals, HR director, assistant director HR, assistant manager HR. There are a number of positions available in the organization. So this position, this branch, that is human resource, has become so important. Okay. So as far as the here in the, I can see that almost 170 participants are there who have joined. So I would just like to know that how many of you are pursuing MBA and how many of you are pursuing BBA and how many are faculties? Nagendra, can you?
All are from MBA background only, sir. Like everyone is MBA student.
Everyone is MBA student.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good.
And some of the students opting for HRM also. Currently, they are pursuing HRM specialization.
Okay, that's also good. Very nice. So those who are pursuing HRM as a major in HRM, so they will be knowing that the difference between HRM and HRD. So you can differentiate HRM and HRD on many grounds. If you will see the full form in itself, HRM denotes human resource management and HRD denotes human resource development. And as far as its definition is concerned, HRM refers to how the principles of management can be applied to manage the employees working in an organization effectively. So it is basically management principles, HRM. But HRD is a continuous development function that are implemented for improving the performance of those employees who are working in an organization. Okay, so that you can differentiate. As far as the nature is concerned, as I just said, that HRM is management function. So it is purely related to the management overall functioning. But HRD is part of management, part of HRM. Okay, because HRD is concerned with the individuals or employees overall development. Okay, as far as the function is concerned, you can also categorize or differentiate between these two terms. Okay, because the function of HRM are reactive and are usually applied to gaining holistic organizational goals, whereas the function of HRD is proactive and have to be applied consistently to enhance the productivity of employees. Okay, so on the basis of this also you can differentiate. As far as goal of these two terms are concerned, you can differentiate on the basis of the goals also. As the objective of HRM is related to improving the overall performance of employees, point to be noted here. But HRD goals are usually connected with skill development, knowledge enhancement, and increasing the competency of employees. So HRD's objective is actually to nurture the employees, not their performance. But as far as the performance is concerned, it is concerned with the human resource management. On the basis of process also, we can differentiate between these two. Most HRM processes are routine and have to be carried out as and when it is required. Okay, but HRD process are ongoing and not occasional, because as you know that development of an individual is ongoing process. When you are born, at that time itself you start growing, you start developing. When you join the organization, when you are joining at first in the any of the organizations, say for example, if I take your example as a BBA student or MBA student, management as a whole, once you will join the organization, you are a newborn for that organization. You are a newborn in that organization. So HRD will try to develop your overall skills, your knowledge enhancement, your competency. So you will be growing within the organization, and that is the part of human resource development. Okay, next slide. Next, please. Yes. Okay. And on the basis of dependency also, you can differentiate these two terms, because HRM is an independent entity in itself. You will find in the organization that HRM department exists, HR department. Okay, so their function is basically on both the aspects, HRM and HRD. But HRM is concerned with different section that inclusive of recruitment and retention, HRD compensation, performance appraisal management. These are purely the function of HRM, and this depends on HRM. But as far as HRD is concerned, it is a subsystem of HRM and draws many functions like attributes and processes from HRM. Okay, and HRM is concerned with and has concern for people only. It handles recruitment, reward, selection, performance, etc. Okay, but HRD is concerned with the development of all aspects and develop people within an organization and manages its skill development and process. Okay, if you will differentiate on the level of formality, HRM functions are generally formal on the basis of rules and regulations, on the basis of laws, on the basis of policies, and are applied via classroom, laboratory, training, etc. But as far as HRD functions are concerned, it may be informal. Okay, say for mentorship, employee receive coaching from superiors, usually managers. So these are not on the basis of laws, on the basis of regulations, on the basis of policies. It depends on the basis of situations, how and what the employees require. Accordingly, the managers or your supervisors will guide you, will mentor you. Okay, so these are some of the grounds on the basis of which you can differentiate between HRM and HRD. Okay, so as I said that this lecture is going to be an interactive session. So I would like you as a student, because since you people are a student, maximum of you. So up to now, between HRM and HRD, if you have any confusion, you can ask. You can directly ask, or you can write in chat box, and someone will read the chat box, and accordingly I can answer. So if you have any question, you can ask up to now. Then we will move to the next. Anyone?
I think no questions. So if they put in chat, I will let you know. You can move forward.
Okay, that's good. Next slide. Okay, so the scope of HRM, it is important because, as I have just said, that HRM is highly important. Human resource itself is highly important. So the scope is also important because HRM, if you will see the scope of HRM, it is basically divided into three broader categories. First is micro HRM. Micro HRM covers the sub-function of HR policy and practices. And these can be further grouped into two main categories. The largest group of sub-function is concerned with managing individuals and small groups. A vast array of practices underpinned by an extensive body of research. Okay? Much of research informed by personal or industrial organizational psychology, and in some extent by personal and institutional economics also. So a smaller group of sub-functions concerned with work organization and employee-wise systems, okay, that include management union relations, which is less driven by psychological concept, and it is more associated with industrial, sociological, and industrial relations. So micro HRM is one of the future prospect. Okay. Then second is strategic HRM. I hope these terms, micro HRM, strategic HRM, or international HRM, you people have heard. Okay. So as far as the strategic HRM is concerned, it is concerned with systematic question and issues of serious consequences, with how the pieces just described might fit together, and with how they might connect to the broader context and to other organizational activities, and with the ends they might serve. So SHRM, or Strategic Human Resource Management, focuses on the overall HR strategies which is adopted by business units or organization, and tries to measure their impacts on performance. Okay. Much of the big push in the recognition of the field of HRM came from landmark works in the 1980s, which sought to take a strategic perspective, arguing that general managers and not simply HR specialists should be deeply concerned with HRM and alert to its competitive policies. This strategic HRM now has major text reviewing, a research domain in which HRM bridges out to theory and research in strategic management, as well as industrial relations and organizational behaviors. Okay, so the links with strategic management are well known, particularly through the two fields, that is mutual interest in the resource-based view of the firm and the process of strategic decision making. Okay, so the links with industrial relations are also very important, because currently shown in the shared interest in the notion of high performance work system, while the connection with organizational behavior are evidenced in mutual interest in such notions as psychological contracting and social exchange. Okay, so this is a strategic human resource management. A third major domain is international human resource management. It is less engaged with the theoretical bridges that are important in HRM, strategic HRM, and international HRM is concerned itself with HRM in companies operating across national boundaries, as the term itself suggests, international human resource management. Okay, so this international human resource management connects strongly to issues of importance in the field of international business, including the internationalization process. International human resource management is an amalgam of the micro and macro, with a strong tradition of work on how HR sub-functions such as selection and remuneration might be adapted to international assignments. Okay. However, the field examines the way in which the overall strategies of organizations might grapple with the different socio-political contexts of different countries. Okay. So we have then three major subdomains, such as MHRM, SHRM, and IHRM. Okay. Researchers have pursued questions in all sorts of specialized niches in these three domains. Some publishing for decades on one minor aspect of the field, so for the age-old academic strategy of looking for new angles in a small corner of perpendicular field. And for much of the time, the three subdomains seem to have been developing in parallel. While this has added to the volume of publication over specialization, brings problems, and much can be done to enhance learning about theory and methodology from one domain to another domain. Okay, so we think there are some important characteristics of an analytical approach to HRM that are critical for the intellectual life of all three domains. So next we will be discussing the characteristics of sustainable HRM. Okay. So before going to the characteristics of sustainable HRM, we should first understand that why this sustainability term or concept is gaining importance in every, not only in HRM, in every other field also. We use the term sustainable. So sustainability is important because whenever any term exists, or whenever any concept or practices starts, it should be sustained. It should grow up and should sustain for a longer duration to gain its maximum benefit. Okay. So if you will see the sustainability of HRM, you can see the historical perspective also. Beginning in the 1980s, theory and research on HRM has started developing rapidly. Typically, the impact of HRM on performance has become the prevailing research issues in the field. The mainstream literature has generally focused on the plea of guests trying to provide answer to three questions. First is, what is HRM? Second is, what is performance? Third is, how are they linked? So these three questions are important for sustainability of HRM. And the findings have sounded optimistic and encouraging. While at that date, the empirical research has largely supported the idea and provided evidence that HRM is positively related to performance. As in the beginning also I have said that performance, HRS functions is to measure the performance. So the leading message was that HRM contributes to business success and has the ability to translate strategic rhetoric into workplace reality. However, several issues need to be taken into consideration for further fruitful discussion. Say first, despite the multinationalization nature of organizational outcome, a huge number of studies have mainly defined the organizational performance outcomes in terms of economic measures, neglecting employee well-being. And second, analyzing the pathways through which HRM affect organizational performance, employee well-being, and this is mainly treated as mediator between HRM and performance. So, generally speaking, the common feature of mainstreaming writing in HRM was the fact that employees are viewed as a means rather than as an end. Okay, because employees are viewed as a means rather than an end. So the mentioned two aspects allow concluding that to date, employee concerns were very much of secondary consideration in HRM field. Okay. Meanwhile, the neglect of employee well-being is particularly troubling because the statistical data and the findings of a number of recent studies have indicated non-gratifying challenges in the labor market as well as employment relationship. Okay. So nowadays, employee burnout, stress at work, health problems, or difficulties in balancing work duties or work-life balance and private life are extremely relevant challenges. Such situation leads to rethinking HRM if companies are willing to have the employees for running the business in future. Okay. Among various propositions, some scholars argued that sustainable HRM could serve as a possible solution, bringing humanity back to HRM. While sustainability refers to resource generation, development, and renewal, you know that. So from the sustainability point of view, it is a survival strategy for organization to deal with people in such a way that the current and potential employees would have the wish to work for a particular organization. They would have the ability to perform duties in manner appropriate for business. They would have the possibilities to work in terms of health, stress, or work-life balance. Okay. So the idea of sustainability has been known for a long time, and it goes back to the time of Aristotle. However, the concept gained its popularity since Brundtland Commission in 1987 defined sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. Okay. However, corporate sustainability places the emphasis on broader concept of outcome, because as you people, after completing your course, will join some of the organization or corporate world. So they define the HRM sustainability and HRM, they are concerned with more on outcome. As I just said that they are not much concerned about the people and their needs and desires, their problems. Okay. So addressing multiple bottom lines by including more outcomes than just financial, and thus changes the understanding of business success. That is in corporate context. Okay. As far as the research is concerned, on sustainability in HRM, number of research has been conducted. And these are related topics such as sustainable HRM, green HRM, socially responsible HRM, and ethical HRM. And these depending on the keys focus of the approach, that on what approach you have adopted to study or to understand the sustainability of HRM. Okay. So referring to the short history of sustainable HRM, the construct is still at the pioneering, if not emerging phase. While the number of publications in the field of sustainable HRM has recently been growing, scholars still struggle with the attempt to answering what characterizes sustainable HRM. Despite significant contribution to the field of sustainable HRM per se, the area of characteristics of sustainable HRM remains underdeveloped, relatively diverse, and piecemeal. So we will try to close this gap by revealing the main characteristics of sustainable HRM. Next slide, please. Okay, so characteristics of sustainable HRM. The characteristics of such sustainable HRM explains how sustainability can be used in HRM. The characteristics describe what HRM should look like in order to deserve the attribute sustainable. And if you will go through the literature that allow stating that researchers choose different ways and forms to present the characteristics of the construct. Some of them appears to provide characteristics by describing the construct per se. For instance, one of the researchers, Zweig, they argue that employees self-responsibility and participation in decision, while HRM operates as a guardian of human resources, with the objective to support the employees, and that are underlying aspect of construct. So these aspects serve as characteristics of sustainable HRM. If you will go deep into the literature, other writers focus on the features that differentiate sustainable HRM from mainstream HRM, including strategic HRM, as we have already discussed, and in that way, disclose the characteristics. Therefore, treating organizational outcomes in a broader sense rather than just financial outcome, and acknowledging the negative aspects of HRM on different stakeholders, these are the characteristics of sustainable HRM. Finally, besides the implicitly expressed characteristics of the construct, some researchers do it explicitly. Okay, one researcher even incorporates many characteristics of sustainability, such as flexibility, employee participation, value orientation, strategy orientation, competency and knowledge orientation, stakeholder orientation, and building mutually trustful employee-employer relationship, etc. Okay, so, and other researcher has also given different other component or characteristics of sustainable HRM. So we will go here. I have concluded some of the listed down some of the important characteristics of sustainable HRM. The first one is long-term orientation. Okay, generally speaking, long-term orientation is revealed for people management considering various HRM practices, from employee planning till dismissal. So the challenges organizations are facing, like demographical changes, free movement of people, or the mismatch between the current skills of employees and those needed for future, serve as drivers for long-term orientation, addressing people attraction and retention. And typically, the assessment of past, present, and future allows organization to identify the availability of human resource in the future. Okay, forecasting and labor market research could enhance sustainability in HRM. As the more specific labor market information is available, the easier is to recruit the best one. From sustainability perspective, if you will see, being the best candidate means matching the organization's need throughout a long period at a cost which the organization can afford. You can, as a student, since you are a part of the study, you are growing, so you can prepare yourself as the best candidate. Means you need to match the organizational needs so that organization can afford you. Okay. Moreover, hire and fire or fire and forget are approaches which contradict the sustainability of HRM. As being sustainable requires more effort in selecting the candidates who will contribute over the long term and during changing circumstances. Okay. Second is care of employees. As it was mentioned before, human beings are in center of concern of sustainable development. That's why we are talking about the sustainability of human resource. Accordingly, from sustainability perspective, each organization is in charge of ensuring that is retains a healthy and productive workforce over time. Certainly, it is challenging to define what is meant by care of employees. While the majority of practices treating employees as an end in itself, and that could be classed under the label care of employees. Okay, care of employees is clearly reflected in health and safety management. It seems that employee health covering various topics like disease, mortality, ergonomic work conditions, or stress, these are relevant research field addressing the necessity to rethink people management. And in care for employees, work-life balance represent another example of care of employees. As you know that in India also, today, as dual career families, high work demands and long working hours have become the norm. Definitely, it is not easy to combine work and private life. While challenges related to a variety of aspects, say for disability, care of children, or employee age. However, experience of other countries like Germany suggests that organizations that handle the challenges successfully may achieve a certificate of a family-friendly company. Okay, and that yield dual benefits to the organization. What is the dual benefit? First, that it helps retaining the employees and is a component of employer value proposition. Time-related informational, financial, and direct support for employees enable people to achieve work-life balance. And this, the key is that these family-friendly practices should meet the needs of a staff while meeting the needs of organization. Okay. Third one is care of environment. Although care of environment is a major concern of green HRM, as I have just named. Ecological outcome of sustainable HRM has been largely recognized in theory. Care of environment is strongly reflected in employee recruitment and selection, particularly treating an increasingly environmentally aware younger generation or highly skilled employees. Okay, so care of environment could be embodied in employee training and development. This is mostly related to the increase of the level of eco-literacy. Eco-literacy basically emphasizes the dual nature of organizations' actions. From one side, to part the right knowledge and skills about environmental issues to each employee, and from another side, to analyze the training needs to identify the real training needs of employees. So care of environment is expressed in employee performance management and appraisal by evaluating the employee job performance according to environment-related criteria and providing feedback on progress. Okay. More generally, if you will see that sustainable care for the environment is in everyday activities could manifest in justified consumption of electricity, reasonable printing of documents, moving of paper processes to the electronic space, and escorting of waste and options for arriving to work. Okay. Next is profitability. This is also one of the major characteristics of sustainability or sustainable HRM. Profit seeking has dominated organizational activities. And this is not the new, it is from the long time back. However, as organizations increasingly commit themselves to sustainability, financial indicators such as profits or return on investments, are no longer the only criteria to measure success. This is no way negates the nature of business organizations. Seeing that the economic component of sustainability preserves its importance, rather, a logical partnership of three components is emphasized. A long-term survival of an organization depends on its financial strength and competitiveness in the environment. Okay, so economic effectiveness is linked with the majority of business decisions, if not all, but majority of business decisions. So this implies that the capacities of economic component of sustainability generate the financial funds necessary for the realization of each classic human resource management function. In summary, it could be stated that striving for economic effectiveness is a natural goal of every business organization. And it is not negotiated, or it is not negated by the sustainability dimensions. Sustainability dimension also realizes the importance of profitability. When recognizing the necessity of the funds for human resource management, it is important not to justify the consumption of human resources and negative impact on employees, society as a whole, and environment by the striving of economic effectiveness. Next is employee participation and social dialogue. Employee participation creates the condition for a fruitful social dialogue between employers, employees, and trade unions or other stakeholder or collective bodies. It seems that employee participation has been already implicitly or explicitly mentioned when describing sustainable HRM. Okay, so the added value of employee participation in terms of win-win for both sides, employer and employees, this is well established in literature. The management approach view participation as an instrument to enhance the employees' attachment and loyalty to a particular organization. Meanwhile, the humanistic approach treats participation as beneficial to human growth and satisfaction of social needs. Okay, while participation is not a new construct in management, debates about it are still continuing. People are still debating on how employees should participate and what should be the nature of the dialogue and so on. So intensity, form, and type of participation, as well as issues to be solved in the context of sustainable human resource management, are all important object of analysis. Okay. Next is employee development. Development of employee in the light of sustainability means that the focus should be placed not only on the development of any current skills and capacities, but rather on skill sets and capacities that employees will need in future. Okay, so development of employee is related to long-term orientation, considering employees both as main assets and agents of change. Moreover, investment in future skills adds a challenge to the overall corporate sustainability, as business environment is constantly changing and requires an urgent and concerted effort for adjustment, also in terms of employee skills. Okay, it is important not to forget that the indirect value of employee development, seeing as it is the key element in attracting new employees, and also offers more opportunities for the employees who wish to terminate the employment to search for jobs successfully. So the employability of the people is enhanced. However, it should be pointed out that trainings and development sends to the employees a message that the organization is interested in retaining them in the long term. Okay, next slide. Yes. External partnership. This is another characteristics of sustainability in HRM. External partnership contributes to become an employer of choice, as job fairs or other forms of cooperation with educational institutions can be used to attract the right employees to the organization. Business has the right to hire globally or to use the local labor force. However, if the skills of candidate are on the same level, sustainability always stands for local employees. And as such, decisions that also foster local communities. Okay. Going further, inter-organizational relationships are also important in the context of partnership with the external environment. Okay. As it has been seen from the sustainability perspective, organizations have to support each other in developing the human resources. Okay. And nonetheless, an opposite trend is observed that could be illustrated by a rhetorical question. And the question is, why should we develop people when our competitors are willing to do it for us? Okay. So non-sharing of training expenses between organizations should be approached as anti-sustainability. Okay. Next is flexibility. The concept of flexibility is well recognized and established in strategic human resource management. Okay. Functional and numerical flexibility tend to be viewed as alternative types of flexibility. Both these types have distinct approach to people management. Functional flexibility relies on long-term mutual investment in employment relationship, and it is usually seen as the ability to respond to changes in business needs by having multi-skilled, adaptable, and internally mobile employees. In other words, functional flexibility concerns the ability to perform various and heterogeneous tasks, as well as the practice of moving workers from one task to another to maintain their efficiency. On the other hand, if you will see numerical flexibility, it refers to cost minimization, and it is, on the other hand, the ability of the organization to vary the quantity of workers employed to match the change in the business needs. So flexibility as a characteristics of sustainable HRM is mainly reflected in terms of employee needs. And employee needs means the need for flexibility in such issues like work hours, leave, remote work, vacations, rewards, and retirements were categorized by different level of managers in the organizations. Okay. Next is compliance beyond labor regulations. You see, running business according to law is compulsory precondition for each organization. Okay. And researchers have argued that compliance with labor regulation is an essential state point for sustainable HRM. However, for being sustainable in people management, it is not enough just to obey the laws and regulations. In order to imply sustainability in HRM and to reap the benefit, a broader approach that reaches beyond the labor regulation is needed. As obeying institutional requirements does not necessarily signal that a particular organization is sustainable. Okay. Next is employee cooperation. Researchers says that according to tournament theory, competing employees have strong intentions to undermine their co-workers' activities. In doing this, undermining this, the employee can improve their own performance and be rewarded. It's so simple. However, workplace cooperation is much more financial than competition in terms of economic and social outcomes. For example, underlined that some researcher has argued that cooperation fosters improved quality and productivity. It reduces absenteeism. It lowers the risk of labor disputes and increases overall job satisfaction of employee in the organization. Okay, information sharing, trust, and respect within the organization or open and proactive communication can be applied for creating and enhancing employee cooperation. Okay, and the last one is fairness and equality. These characteristics corresponds to one of the researchers, Greenwood's conclusion that question, is this right or wrong? Means fairness and equality, is this right or wrong? This question appears to be long overlooked in human resource management. Okay, fair treatment of employee means that rules, responsibilities, and rights are intended to be the same for everyone throughout the organization. And sustainable HRM requires not only ensuring non-discrimination, but also going on a step forward and encouraging diversity within workforce. In general, fairness and equality could be reflected throughout the entire HRM addressing section, such as performance evaluation, rewarding, etc. Okay, next slide. Okay, so before we discuss HRM trends, since I was continuously speaking for almost 50 minutes. Okay, so I just want to know that up to now, if you have any question, if you have any observation, if you want to contribute, if you want to say something, please, then we will move forward. How up to now you people have got to understand the concept of HRM, HRD, scope of HRM, and HRM sustainability and its characteristics?
Yes, sir, it was clear.
Okay, so should I move?
Yes, sir, you can.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, this is good. So now, since up to now, what we have discussed, that was purely on the basis of literature available or theoretical concept. But I have tried to relate them, that theoretical aspect, into the practical aspect of the organization, how organization practices to sustain their HR system as a whole, I'm saying. Okay. But now, as you know, that HRM, since every resources in the organization are facing one or another challenges. Similarly, HRM is also facing many challenges, like globalization, to diversity, to ethical issues, to many other challenges. We will not go into the details of those challenges that organization or HR personnel are facing. We will move forward to the current scenario of HRM, that is HR trends. Okay. The last decade brought an avalanche of change to the HR industry. The rise of artificial intelligence, the growth of gig economy, the increased push toward greater diversity, and most recently, global pandemic, COVID-19, you know all. We are already facing, and last year what had happened, and this year what had happened, we are all witnessing that. Okay, we are all not witnessing only, rather we are experiencing that. Okay, so these challenges have altered the reality of millions and redefined where and how work gets done. That begs the question, what is in a store for the future of the industry? Okay, so this section will look ahead for a glimpse of which HR trends will continue to drive transformation and which new trends are emerging to share the future of work, future of human resource management. Next slide. Emerging trends. As I just said, 2020 was fraught with change as organizations around the world scrambled to react to the global COVID-19 pandemic that affected companies large and small across every industry across the nation. If 2020 taught us anything, it is that companies that don't transform will get left behind those that do. This applies to developing a digital transformation strategy that will stick, but more importantly, extends beyond technology to tackle people-centric issues. Okay? Understanding industry shift is crucial to keeping pace with the rapid developments taking place, especially in light of pandemic. To that end, I have gone through the literature and experts' advice to learn the most emerging trends for future so management can make informed decisions for their organization. These are, you can see on the screen, some of the important emerging trends. I will be discussing each of them separately, one by one. So next slide. First, virtual work. One of the trends we predicted for 2020 was the increasing prominence of the new way to work. That is a shift way from the traditional work model toward one that is more flexible and worker-centric, underscored by the increasing acceptance of working from home and the boom of the gig economy. Little did anyone know or could have predicted how true that statement would be in all the most unexpected ways. From government manhandled lockdowns to companies shifting to a full-time work from home model, wherever possible, the way work gets done changed drastically. For some, that change is permanent. If you will see different companies' orientation and different companies' decision, Twitter made the decision to let every employee who doesn't need to be in the office so as to maintain servers, work from home forever if they choose to. In a similar vein, Microsoft announced that some level of working from home would become a permanent part of their culture, with an emphasis on giving employees the flexibility to mold their work choice to fit their lifestyle. One major companies like Facebook, like Shopify and Slack have also embraced the new reality that is normalized and elevated working from home. Okay, when the world opens back up again, it is clear that the work environment won't simply return to the way it was earlier. Gallup study or Gallup data shows that 65% of workers would prefer to continue working from home post-COVID. Similarly, IBM found that nearly 85% of respondents surveyed in the middle of 2020 wanted to work at home in some capacity after lockdown lifted, with 58% saying they wanted their main way of working to be remote, that is work from home. Okay. Salesforce research offers perhaps the most acute perspective. Of participants in a May 2020 survey, 69% agreed that the pandemic will permanently change the nature of work. Another survey in June found that working from home full-time would be the most appealing option for 37% of respondents. Okay, with another 23% saying a split between home and office would be their choice. So it is clear that an increasingly remote digital work environment won't disappear once the pandemic is over. Okay, let's see when it will get over. So the way in which organizations adjust to this reality will play a major role going forward, and particularly affect the next 4 decades on our list. Okay. Next slide. Okay, companies double down on digital. Given the shift to a workplace that is increasingly virtual and more disconnected from an office, another trend we expect to see is to focus on what is been termed digital first work. Digital first work. This has far-reaching implications as companies seek to determine how this new era will shape their culture and values. As per the study conducted by KPMG, 77% of CEOs surveyed will build on their use of collaboration and communication tools, and 67% are more likely to invest in technology compared to 33% only investment in worker skills. So through this data, the trend you can see how companies are going in a different way to deal with to tackle with situations. Okay. Similarly, in 2021, Deloitte Global Human Capital Trend Report that found that introducing digital collaboration platforms is the most important factor in sustaining the new ways to work. Research by renowned HR thought leader and analyst, name is Josh Bersin, took this concept a layer deeper. In his report, The Big Reset Playbook, he highlighted balancing a hybrid work environment as one of the priorities of the return to work. Okay, countries not facing COVID-19 restrictions have developed a hybrid approach, with workers going to a physical office but not as regularly. Okay, not 5 days or 6 days. So the challenges now, according to the report, is learning to facilitate connections and collaboration in this hybrid world in which many employees continue to work remotely, but periodically meet with others for in-person collaboration and innovation. Okay, next slide, please. Yes. So teams play an essential role that you also know. Human resource researcher at Purdue University said that the concept of creation of virtual teams that goes along with virtual work will become a huge issue moving into 2021. Deloitte also highlighted our team combines people and technology to produce outcomes more quickly and at a greater scale than would otherwise be possible. So factors that contribute to successful super teams that include creating a culture that celebrates growth, adaptability, and resilience. Okay, and 45% of executives surveyed. Okay. Second is enabling a capable workforce through skilling, re-skilling, and mobility. Okay. Third one is implementing new technologies. Okay. So beyond the presence and importance of teams, Kate's brought up some challenges that HR will face. How employee will be trained. Okay. How they will communicate, how will they develop bond among members, and how will they be evaluated for performance? Okay, so in his opinion, looking to the past will be a crucial strategy going forward. We should look at the lessons that teams taught us from the 1980s and how they failed. He said they failed due to top management not investing in the infrastructure that is needed to train and evolve teams so they can perform an intended work they were designed to perform. Okay, so that is team spirit. Next is yes, HR design is a strategic focus. According to Miller, the concept of design should be okay. So according to Miller, one of the researchers, the concept of design should be prominent focus over the coming years. How does this work out? Miller believes HR design aids a strategy in three important ways. First, shaping the design of the new organization of the future, designing the new and reshaped jobs that new working practices and automation will demand. And third, identifying the new capabilities and requirements that the new world of work will make up upon the workforce, its managers and its leaders in terms of behavioral and technical demands. This means that some of the old techniques that don't seem to be part of the regular HR toolkit, okay, such as organizational design, job design, scenario planning, etc. And these need to be revisited and the HR practitioners re-skilled as per the necessity. So organizational design and change management was also the second most important priority for HR leaders in 2021. Okay, and according to Gartner research, challenges cited including managers who aren't equipped to lead changes and employees fatigue due to the amount of change happening. Okay, next. Okay, employee experience is redefined. Employee experience was the third most important key initiative among HR leaders in 2019. Okay, according to Gartner and White-Gartner most recent report on HR leaders' priorities for 2021 places employee experience as the fifth highest. It is undeniable that this trend will continue to be relevant and important heading forward. Okay, focusing on the experience that employees have with the company, much as brand focuses on the customer experience, can boost productivity, it can improve satisfaction, it can lead to greater employee loyalty, and it can also encourage investment in the employee's vision. But thanks to the slew of changes caused by the pandemic, the employee experience has taken on new shape and new meaning. The battle for the hearts and minds of employees has become even more important. Okay, especially when the leadership management and employee relationship in a number of instances is very different to how it has been previously. Okay, formerly, in-person connections have become completely technology based. When it comes to leading and engaging people, you never really know how someone responds best until you have worked with them for a while and entered into a meaningful dialogue with them. Okay, both of these elements are now very different. Okay, as you know, so the link between the rise of automation and the employee experience is being made to provide personalized solutions and information for the workforce in a cost-effective and sustainable way. Human resource will need to focus on those critical HR practices and understand how they can be improved and made more relevant for the workforce tomorrow. Okay. Another way for companies to improve the employee experience in certain times is to give employee a voice. Okay. Gathering feedback from employees and then acting on their input is the best way to improve EX. Okay. Improve employee experience. Okay. So data shows that 65% of employees saying it is very or extremely important for their company to listen to feedback. The study also found the following benefits of turning feedback into action, such as employees are twice as engaged compared to those at companies with no listening program. Okay. Second is almost 70% are very or extremely likely to stay with the company longer. And third is more than 90% will be more resilient in the face of change. Okay. Next slide. HR delivers value through an outside or in approach. So another HR trend is HR implicating business success through an outside or in approach. Okay. One of the researcher, that is, his name is Ulrich, he wrote that this approach is the next wave in the evolution of HR's contribution. Okay. So the outside in wave moves from value creation to value delivery when human resource customers are not just employees, or they are not just leader or business strategies that's inside the organization, but also stakeholders such as customers, investors, and communities outside the company. So HR value delivery is captured when HR analytics are not about activities with scorecards, dashboards, and insights, but about the impact of HR activities on key stakeholders. So this HR contributions spans three core areas, that is talent, organization, and leadership. And while Ulrich pointed out that these spheres aren't new, he said that they are even more critical in responding to current challenges and discovering future opportunities. Okay, next slide. Mental health gets attention it actually deserves. As in our opening remarks, I have said that this organization is not much careful about the human personal needs and desires, personal requirements. But now, organization has transformed, and organization has started looking into the core issues of individual concern. Okay, one of the most palpable impacts of the pandemic has been its effect on mental health. If you will go to the data, you will find the response alarming. Okay, an SHRM report from the first half of 2020 found that up to 35% of employees surveyed experienced depression symptoms often, while 41% reported work burnout and 45% said they felt emotionally driven from their work. Okay. Furthermore, a survey conducted by HIBOP discovered that among workers in the US and UK, the pandemic caused mental wellness to drop 27%. We are living in unprecedented times. It should come as no surprise that the stress and uncertainty facing vast amount of the population have taken a toll. As organizations scrambled to react to a crisis that was beyond their control, it thrust well-being forward as a factor that could be ignored, that couldn't be ignored. Okay, so this emphasis will continue in 2021 onwards. A report by Business Group on Health identified some key areas of expected growth in the mental health arena where large companies are concerned. That is, more than 90% of employers will offer tele-mental health. Okay, the number of organizations providing mental health resources will climb from 69% in 2020 to 88% in 2021, and it will go further. Third one is that the cost for mental health services will be viewed as important, and it will be waived or reduced in 50% of companies in 2021. Next. Okay, so after mental health issues that has got the importance nowadays after pandemic, another important trends of human resources, data becoming the new currency. A top strategic focus of HR over the next few years is a focus on data. The shift to remote work caused by the pandemic has meant employers had to increasingly rely on tools to gauge how engaged and productive employees were, and by extension, turn to data insights for direction. Data is the new currency when it comes to the workforce. And as long as HR retains that human touch, the advent of data should not scare any HR practitioners. So the question is, why exactly is data taking center stage? Okay. In researchers' view, it provides understanding of three pivotal areas. First, it shows how successful HR practices are in adding value at the strategic or business level. Second, data allows HR to identify ways to enhance practices and the employee experience. Third, it enables HR to show how its various functions align with related strategies and commercial demands. Okay. In terms of the impact at a tangible level, data is critical. Okay. It has been found that more than 60% of executives say the top HR trend offering impact is using talent analytics to make decisions rooted in data. Okay. So people analytics is not going to go away, and it will be an integral part of the way that all HR functions operate over the next few years. Okay, next slide. DEI means diversity, equality, and inclusion. This receives major focus recently, and in future it will have more focus, because over the years, companies have faced increasing expectations, particularly from younger generations, to support DEI initiative. Okay, matters of diversity and inclusion have become part of the conversation as HR professionals seek to address bias, unfair wages, and other problems. In 2020, a Rolodex of news headlines highlighted new issues, measures of movement that have driven DEI even more to the forefront. In response, companies from Google, Nielsen, and beyond are emphasizing these matters more than ever. In fact, 81% of CEOs indicate their business has or will publicly announce new anti-black racism measures. And that is the report given by KPMG. Another outcome of 2020 spurred by the pandemic is the decrease of women in the workplace. One of the research shows that women are nearly 1.5 into more likely to leave the workforce. With the US potentially losing more than 2 million women all told, new home life demands created by school shutdown and other factors played major role. Okay. Another research reported that 15% of mothers are spending 5 or more hours on their household than before the pandemic. And that is compared to the 7% of fathers. Okay. So DEI is a focal point among executives. According to a research, this carries through to managers, with HR executive agreeing that training for middle managers who are often overlooked is imperative to help address well-being and D&I issues. Okay, next. Yes, workers, next trend is the workers are equipped with skills and tools they need to navigate uncertainty. That is one of the important emerging trends, because the war for talent has been a hallmark of the past several years. Thanks to historically low unemployment rates and candidate favored market, companies had to battle for top talent. The past years saw that trend, like many others, redefined by this COVID-19. Okay, the new frontier of the talent war prompted by the pandemic will hone in on empowering employees with the tools they need to gain the skills they need, rather than simply attracting top talent from outside the organization to fill vacancies. A KPMG report found that CEOs view talent risk as the top threat to growth thanks to the pandemic, and building skills and critical competencies is the top priority in 2021. And for 68% of HR leaders, according to Gartner. That's more. Deloitte data found that more than half of respondents indicated that anywhere from 50 to 100% of employees will need to change their skills over the coming 3 years. Okay. One way companies can cope with this new normal, according to one of the report, is to emphasize internal talent development and mobility. It is found that reinventing job roles and quickly redeveloping workers have the greatest impact. The matters goes well beyond merely reskilling. According to Deloitte experts, who suggested that resilience, helping workers and by extension organization adapt to uncertainty by supporting them with tools and strategies. And this forms a vital part of the equation. Okay. So the continued rise of artificial intelligence and robotics is a central driver of this need to adequately equip employees in the face of this evolution. Okay. Survey found that 68% of executives expected hiring to increase across automation and technology roles, with 35% saying artificial intelligence, automation, and robotics were specific areas that would require more skilled workers. Next slide, please. Okay. HR offers guidance to drive success, because the concept of HR guidance delivered using an organization guidance system is a trend for 2020 and expect to play a significant role moving forward, such as system shifting thinking about the actions in organization from being descriptive to prescriptive. Okay, so it does this by starting with desired outcomes from key stakeholder insight, that is implies competence, well-being and productivity and business strategic clarity, positioning and delivery, and a stakeholder outside such as customer net promoter scores or customer share, investor profitability today and confidence for tomorrow, and community reputation for social responsibility, etc. In essence, OSG identifies desired outcome related to 4 spheres that are critical to business success. That is talent, organization, leadership, and human resource. Once desired outcomes are articulated, and OSG informs choices about how to best reach the outcomes. Guidance is less about what is done and more about what should be done. Okay, so notable circumstances from 2020, including pandemic demands, economic difficulty, and social unrest, have given rise to the need for innovation. Okay, guidance helps identify the best solution based on empirical data. Okay, technology has enabled digital information that moves from descriptive dashboards and scorecards to insights based on big data to guidance to determine which activities provide specific outcomes. Okay. Finally, in another article, LinkedIn article, Ulrich concludes that HR's opportunity to create value through targeted organization effectiveness initiative is talent. It is leadership, it is organization and HR, which can now be realized. A portfolio approach to these initiatives will better allocate resources to key organizational effectiveness priorities. Okay, next slide. Okay. Company next trend nowadays in HR is companies show their true color. And zooming out from the preceding trend, one final prediction comes into focus, that is 2020 will be the year that employers and employees alike, from the C-suites to the line worker, discover the true nature of their organization. Okay, the pandemic, social justice causes, and economic difficulties cast a spotlight onto companies, and everything discussed thus far circles back to the matter of how organizations have and will respond as the journey into an uncertain future unfolds. Value priorities, culture, and more will emerge depending on how business react to things like to whether to require vaccination for in-office workers and how they handle potential ensuing lawsuits, to how and when to return to work, along with safety measures taken to elevate employee concern, to extent to which employees are allowed to work from home when it is no longer required for safety reasons, to what well-being measures to invest in the encourage employees, to how diversity, equity, and inclusion practices are woven into the culture of how a company operates, to extent to which managers and executives listen to and then act upon employees' feedback, to how well employees from the top floor to the bottom or home office display empathy for their colleagues, to the level of which leaders show trust in their people rather than try to retain control by micromanaging from afar. Okay, so these were some of the important trends which will dominate in year 2021 and in future. Okay, next slide. So as you know that 2020 was a year of drastic, unparalleled change. As we move further in 2021, a new landscape will emerge. If you will move into 2022, you will find another drastic, another change. I don't know whether you people have expected or not, but one marked by lessons learned from the pandemic and new or renewed dedication to areas such as employee experience, virtual work, mental health, and DEI. Team design and evolution, as well as a skill development, will heavily influence organizations' ability to execute and succeed. Okay? The move to digital will become an even more marked as companies seek to transform in the face of new challenges. Leveraging data to enhance practices, deliver value, and create alignment, HR will also help drive success through guidance and by taking an outside or in approach. And finally, in the wake of so many life-altering changes and the presence of murky future, where companies land on today's unique issues will define them for better, or it will also define them for worse. So this is an exciting time to be in HR, and if challenge, innovation, change, and personal growth are of your interest, then stick around. Okay. So what do you think the key 2021 trends will be? Did we miss any? Share your insights and comments. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, you can close the.
Yeah. Guys, any doubts? You can start asking the sir if faculty is waiting. I think very good interactive session, and many like a lot of information you shared about the HRMs are really wonderful information.
Thank you.
And students also very inspired of topics that you have covered, and very interesting topics that you have covered, sir. Like what about the current trends are happening in the HRM?
Yes, thank you.
Guys, you can start. Yeah.
Yes, anyone, if you want to ask something, if you want to comment upon what I have said, what I have discussed with you, so open to all. Please say something. Not necessarily the question. You can also share some experiences.
Yeah.
As Nagendra has said that you people are student, so I would be more interested to know that what you actually perceive about the HRM and its future, especially those who have taken their major or minor as HRM.
Swarna, you can start asking. I think you have some other information you want to speak. Swarna, I'm audible for now?
Tell me, sir.
Yeah, please start asking. Like you can interact. No, Sari is asking any information regarding that.
So, good afternoon, sir. It was my pleasure listening to your sessions today. The major thing is I'm having a very much keen interest regarding the HR. So if you just tell us, what are all the current requirements for the company for performing a well asset as a company for HR employees, sir?
Yes, see, as an HR, because when we discuss the term HR or when we refer to the term HR, this is basically 2 point of view is there. One is HR as a HR professional, and another is as an employee in the organization where you are working under the system. Okay, I have talked about the policies, HR policies and practices. So as far as the HR as a profession is concerned, you need to develop many skills, many talents. As I have already discussed the trends, the scenario has changed. First, as you know that the gig economy, artificial intelligence, the robotics, and other technological advancement has captured the functioning of the organization. So all of us, being the HR professional also, we have to be equipped with all the technological advancement. That is one part. Another, being a professional, you must be skilled enough to provide training, to be able to assess the job, the performance of the employees of your organization, and the performance of yourself. You should also be very talented, means very skilled, in a way to evaluate your own performance and performance of the organization, performance of each employee. And for evaluating the performances, you might be knowing, or you will come to know, that there are a number of methods, techniques are available. So you will have to adopt those techniques, which will be amalgamation of all the applicable technique, which can measure all the aspects of job performance, all the component of job performance. So in this way, being in HR, you need to develop two types of basic skills and abilities, technical and personal.
Thank you so much, sir.
Because one thing I would like to add, that nowadays what company is looking for, they are looking for an employee, even technical or non-technical, to be oriented technically. That's why I was saying.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Questions somebody wants to ask, you can start asking. HRM students are there, no, more than 20 students are there. You can start interacting with the faculty.
I think they have got to understand everything what I have said.
I think a lot of topics you have covered, sir. Very good interactive information you have shared. And latest information, 2021.
Actually, I was thinking of that, since they are a student, the participants are students. So I did not cover the syllabus, because syllabus teacher will be teaching them. Okay. So I have covered only those parts or aspects of the HRM which are practical in nature.
Yes, sir.
And I hope that all the students who will profess their profession in HR field, they will experience the things that we have discussed today. Okay. They will experience that how mental health issues or how personal issues were being ignored. And they will come to know that how organization has started taking care of each aspect of individual. And that's why you can better understand that nowadays the private organization, whether it is educational or professional organization, they have adopted different policies like paternity leave, maternity leave, like sick leave, like other flexible working hours. So these are the things that organization has adopted just to make their resources, the human resource, more productive.
Yes, sir. Guys, any questions from anyone? HRM students. Yeah, most of the students, they have one doubt actually, sir, like how to crack HR job in current industry. Actually, most of the people have that question in their minds. Everyone, like HR, how to get a HR job, which first one of the like a hottest topic for the in the. Guys, yeah, continue.
Yes. So actually, what is happening in HR, that you will find that in organization, there are a number of positions available with the title HR, human resource, है ना? Human resource analyst, HR executive, HR director, HR manager, HR assistant, assistant manager. Number of positions are available. For government organization, they are conducting exams. Okay. First, you will have to appear in the examination, the entrance test. Then you will have to go through the different steps, 1 or 2 or 3 steps they used to take. And finally, interview. You will have to go through all the steps. So while preparing, you will have to focus on from basic, the historical perspective of HR, to the practical aspect, all the components of human resource management and human resource development, along with other things like current issues, current trends, general studies, like numerical analytics, other things also you will have to take care of while preparing for examinations. This is in the case of the Navratna and Maharatna companies of Government of India. The state government also hires some of the HR professionals in different departments, okay, but not necessarily that they are giving the title of human resource, or you can say HR analyst or professionals. They may be giving some other designation, but the nature of work will be like HR. Okay, they are, say, for office assistant or something else. So for them, one thing you will find that they are either they are directly hiring, or they are hiring through national level competition. Okay, so for if you have to face the competition, the syllabus you can better understand. If you have to face the direct interview, you will have to be prepared with all the concept of HRM. Basic concept should be clear, because if your basics will be clear, what will be the benefit? That you can answer the question on the basis of the basics of the concept, and then accordingly you can put the examples along with the term, the basics. Okay, so this way you can handle the positions available with the government. In organization, private organization, there are a number of positions. Okay, as I have mentioned, these positions are available in the private organization also. So private organization generally hires on the basis of interview. Okay, direct recruitment, in other words, we can say. So interview may be of 2 or 3 rounds. First means department level interview, then HR level interview, then director level interview. Okay, then CEO level interview. It depends on the position, that for which position you are applying or you have applied. Okay, if you have applied for higher position like HR manager, like HR director, then you will have to interact with the CEO level employees or MD level employees or director level employees. Okay, so you will have to, in that case, you will have to be more careful about the practical aspect, because what will happen in that case, when you will be facing the interview, the situation, the interviewer or panel will create a situation, and they will ask you that how you will handle in these situations. So you should be prepared with the practical aspect of HR concept in that sense, in that kind of job opportunity. Okay, so if you will be asked to answer the questions dealing with the situational aspect, you will have to be very careful. You will have to be very liberal, mature, objective. You will have to be very careful in answering and using the words in your answer also. Okay, and the confidence level that you will show during answering the questions of that particular nature. Okay, so these are some of the things that you can take care while preparing for any position in the organization, whether it is government or private. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, guys. Yeah, wonderful. Guys, any questions you want to ask, or shall we conclude for some other? Yeah, Amulya, you can proceed, Amulya.
Yes, sir. Sharon, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can continue.
Good afternoon, everyone. I deem it as a great honor to propose a vote of thanks to all of you. First, I would like to propose a hearty thanks to Dr. Amjad Ali sir for gracing your presence today for the webinar on emerging trends on human resource. Thank you, sir, for taking your valuable time from your busy schedule, and thank you for making an excellent. Thank you for making an excellent presentation and making this webinar interesting and meaningful. I would like to express my profound gratitude to our director, Dr. Vinay sir, for his moral support